Hello everyone, my name is Alexander and today I'm going to talk a little bit about breakaways and riding in Peloton. I got a question on Twitter from Dan and he asked a really specific question. How much is it easier to ride in a big Peloton than being in a breakaway with only 2 or 3 guys? You know, in cycling you cannot really measure something like efforts with percentage or some kind of numbers. It's really individual and it's really specific for any race, any terrain, any kind of weather. So it's really specific, but since I can say pretty much good experience from road racing, I will talk about breakaways from my experience and I hope you will understand it pretty well. If you are a cyclist, there is one thing for sure, you really know how the drag works. Drag is simply riding behind someone or a little bit on the side, it depends on the wind. As we cyclists like to say, being on someone's wheel will result in 20 to 30% less effort for you to ride on the same speed, on the same place as the guy in front of you. And that's all about mathematics, but if you are watching cycling regularly and if you are racing also, you really know that to win Tour de France or some big race, it's really not that much about your strength. Yes, you need to be powerful really, but really many top riders, around 20 riders in the world, they have really close up their abilities and their maximum power output. They can sustain really big efforts, but what's about cycling is that it's a really mental game. So one of the things with riding in Peloton is that you will be much more relaxed. You see, if you are on some big uphill, you see everyone struggling and you know, if you are here, hey, yeah, it's okay, I can ride in here to the finish. But if your plan is just to sit in the Peloton for the whole race, you know that you are not going to win the race. And with that being said, there are only 2 ways to win the race. First one is to sprint. That can be sprinting the whole Peloton, but that also can be sprinting your breakaway guys. And second one is of course to come solo to the finish. First type, sprinting with Peloton or with smaller group, that we can see on much more easier stages. When I say easier, I mean flatter stages. And coming solo to the finish we can see most often on some big hilly stages, also with some big technical parts, or in really hard weather, but that's talk for itself. We can concentrate only on these 2 things: big group sprint and coming solo on the finish. So big good sprint, we know there are right now good 10 guys that are very popular and strong in sprints. For example, Peter Sagan, everyone loves him. Andrew Greipel, Mark Cavendish, Caleb Ewan, you know those guys. And also the really good uphill guys, Quintana, Froome, Contador. You really know those names. They are also now much younger and perspective riders. And if you are, for example, Peter Sagan, couple of years ago he really cannot sustain any long uphill. So for example, some Mont Ventoux or something like that, really he is on the really last guy in the bunch, and that means he really cannot win the stage. Or also Chris Froome, he did win some stages that are not pure uphill, but if he comes to a sprint with Peter Sagan, 0 chances, really. So if you want to win a stage that's not suited for you, you need to be in a breakaway. And that's when we come to that kind of stuff. So to get in a breakaway, you really need to be strong, but also you need to be smart. Maybe not always smart, but you really need to be lucky. You need to have that moment to see the time and go full hard into your breakaway. And at that moment many things can happen. Some teams, if they are on the head of the group, on the peloton, they will chase you. But if you have chosen a moment when no one's watching you and you hit it so hard, maybe a couple of guys will chase you, and then you can group. And if you're lucky and if it's a good group, your breakaway can really succeed. And then we come to the question, how much harder is it in the breakaway than in the peloton? As I said, you can sit in peloton whole day. I survived a couple of races, really, I didn't feel wind the whole day. But also when are some really technical stages with lots of corners, being in a group is not a good thing, especially if you're at the back. At really tight corners the group will split, it will cut, it will break, because someone will break a little bit more than the guys in front, and then they're going to make gaps, and being on the back of the group really can make you work even harder to be with that group. So one tip is definitely to be at the front of the group, but on the other side, if you're in a breakaway, and if it's a good breakaway, for example 6 to 10 guys, and you are always looking in front, and if you are working together, you really feel much more like one strong guy. And if you really have a good tactics and everyone wants to work, so everyone splits their efforts, there's a big chance that your breakaway will sustain and get to the finish. But how much is it really harder? Well, being in a breakaway, if you don't want to work, if you want to sit at the back, first thing that everyone will hate you, they will try to drop you, or if you are weak you will drop yourself, they don't even need to jump or to try to escape. But on the other side, if you are stronger than the guys with you, well, either you try to go solo or your breakaway will not get it to the finish because the peloton will chase you. So as I said, in the breakaway everyone is working their asses off, so you are pushing it 85, 90%, 100, 105% at some times if you really want those breakaways to sustain, and especially if you are going solo. If you are going solo, that's time trial. Everyone knows that time trials are so hard. And also, as Dan asked, how hard is it to be in a 2-3 guys breakaway? If you are with 2-3 guys breakaway, if you don't work together, there are no chances that the breakaway will come to the finish. So everyone needs to work as maximum as they can, and that's really uncomfortable. Also, it can be as much as 100 k's long or even more. Sometimes happened from my experience that guys jumped from the start of the race from 0 kilometers, so they are in a breakaway for the whole race, and that's really hard. But if the peloton doesn't want to chase you, if you are maybe in pro races, if you are in general classification very low and you are not in danger for the yellow jersey or for the leader, the pro teams will not chase you, and in that moment your breakaway can sustain. But trust me, it's not going to be easy. On the other side, surviving in the peloton can be much easier. But of course, don't forget the classic races that are one-day races. Just surviving in peloton, for example, for me, if I appear in Milano-San Remo, Paris-Roubaix, to survive in peloton, that will be, I don't know, unbelievable success, because on those races you know that average speed is huge, and just to be in peloton there are always some jumps, breakaways, because that's a one-day race. There is no general classification, there is only one chance, there is only one finish, so that's a huge effort. So it really depends. In stage races peloton can be really easy, but in one-day races on pro level there is no easy race. So as I said, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easier, but you really know cycling is a really hard sport, so there is no any calculation, this day can be easier, this day can be much harder. You just really need to give your real best, try to win, but also you need to have a good tactics and also good team. So I know I didn't said anything exact, but if you watch cycling races, you need to know, and you probably have seen that there are no exact rules. They are strong guys, but they don't win races always. There are some moments that you really blow your mind because that chase should be there, or that guy should be over there, but some way they got lucky, someone didn't want to chase them, so there are no rules. You really need to be brave, you really need to be strong, and just give it all yourself. But trust me, if you are sitting in the peloton and you are not sprinter, there are no chances for you to win. So try breakaway. If you don't succeed in first, if you don't succeed in second, maybe third, maybe sixth time will be your lucky number to go in breakaway and to get it to the finish. So try your best and good luck.